Community Schemes Ombud Service hosts its second inaugural Indaba at Polokwane City, Limpopo. I spoke to Kiribone Petla, Acting Chief Ombud, to unpack the organization's mandate and goals. Kiribone, thank you so much for joining us. What is the role of the Community Schemes Ombud Service?
The main role of the Community Scheme Ombud Service, of which we like to call in short CSOS, we regulate the conduct of the schemes. By schemes we mean your sectional titles, your homeowners associations, your retired houses for people, as well as your housing cooperatives. So we regulate the conduct of the people that are residing in those particular schemes. In terms of for them to operate properly, we need them to register with us so that we know who we're regulating. We also need them to submit their rules to us so that we can quality assure their rules. And when disputes arise in those schemes, we're also available to provide dispute resolution mechanisms. And part of our mandate also involves training the people who reside in the schemes to know their rights and obligations of staying in those schemes. So that is, in a nutshell, that's our mandate.
And what are some of the common issues in community schemes?
The common issue in terms of dispute. So we've got an act that actually gives you categories of types of dispute. We've got behavioral dispute, financial dispute. In terms of behavioral dispute is where you'll find that the rules of the scheme might be oppressing the rights of the people. Maybe you're practicing traditional items where you need to slaughter, but there will be a rule in that scheme that says we do not slaughter. So those rules, they come to us, we need to call to assure them to say that they are constitutionally not correct because they are infringing on the rights of the people. The other common rule that we get that is actually something that I just find so amazing is that my next door dog is barking, is making noise. So different types of rules, but financial dispute that we reserve are rules. Dispute are around the fact that maybe you are an owner but you're not paying levies. So the body corporates can bring you to us so that we can conciliate on the matter. If you are unable to conciliate on the matter, we refer you to an adjudication process where you'll get an adjudication order that compels you to pay the levies. Yeah.
Okay. The organization is currently hosting its second inaugural Indaba with the theme scheme verification, registering new schemes and fostering collaboration. Let's talk about what is the reason for these kind of meetups to happen.
So we started last year with the first Indaba. We had it in Gauteng. This year we're given a big challenge by the minister to say, I want you to rotate it. I want you to go to Limpopo. We were like, no, there are no schemes in Limpopo. But here we are in Limpopo and we've got big numbers than we had last year in Gauteng. So it can show you that there's a great need of the people to be trained to raise their awareness about the CSOS and our mandate and how useful it is to be aware about us, because a lot of people stay in the schemes, they don't know about us. They don't know what kind of assistance they can get from us. So by us going outside, going to the people, going to the Indaba, going to the training, engaging our stakeholders, they get to then know and understand what is that we can do for them.
With the aim of regulating the conduct of parties within community schemes, CSOS has been tasked with promoting good governance and conflict resolution in the sector. Joining me to give further insight is the organization Deputy Chairperson, Donovan Goliath. Donovan, thank you so much for joining us. In simple terms, what are community schemes all about?
Community schemes are gated communities, complexes, residential flats. So essentially where people are staying together as a group, that would be a community scheme.
What is the mandate of CSOS?
The mandate of CSOS is to do training, to do adjudications, to do mediations. So in essence, it's an alternative dispute resolution space for community schemes specifically, which then says that people don't have to go to the courts. Here you pay a levy and you get the legal assistance free of charge, made available by the government.
What kind of complaints does CSOS cover?
There's a myriad of claims, whether it is financial, and often when it comes to the financial stuff, it's about transparency and people aren't able to access the statements. They don't know what people do with the money, etc. Then there's rules-based issues, behavior-based issues. So it's a myriad of complaints that can come through.
Donovan, what is the best time and when can someone file and what channels can they file these complaints on?
Well, it's literally any time. Our platforms are available. So apart from the offices that people can go to, in all the provinces we've got offices, and then we've got satellite offices in others. But the best time to file is, like I said, when you have an issue. But filing is normally coupled with whether you understand what you're letting yourself in for when you move into an estate or gated community or in a community scheme, So people need to make sure that they understand the rules and what governs the space that they're moving into.
You're watching Business Day TV. I'm Kaka Ngofe. We're on day 2 of the CSOS second inaugural Indaba, exploring scheme verification, registration and stakeholder collaboration. Joining me now is Mr. Lisiba Sishoka, Executive Corporate Services, to share insights on the importance of good governance in community schemes. Mr. Sishoka, please tell us what is the importance of facilitating discussions around well-governed schemes?
Well, as far as we are concerned, for us to create a harmonious environment within the schemes, there needs to be a discussion because of the cultural diversity that exists in schemes. So it's very difficult for people from different cultural backgrounds to live harmoniously unless we engage them in the manner in which we are engaging. I mean, we have seen a lot of problems before emanating from the cultural differences where people are not tolerant to each other. So this is a great thing for us to have.
There is a great concern over community schemes failing to disclose financial information to homeowners and also relevant stakeholders. Can you talk to us about that?
Well, we have seen a mushrooming number of schemes that do not hold AGMs, that do not disclose financial statements. And as the CSOS, we are taking action against it because it's not allowed. It's part of good governance to call annually an annual general meeting and give financial feedback to people who resides within the community schemes.
How is it important to have organizations like CSOS to mitigate on these challenges?
It's extremely important for us to be there to assist. I mean, obviously one of our key mandate is around dispute resolution. We have seen a mushrooming number of disputes coming from the schemes around issues of culture, where people would want to say, I want to slaughter a cow, and they say the rules do not allow. And someone says, well, listen, I'm smoking my dagga in my small place, but the neighbor is complaining. So there are really very big differences. They appear small, but we've seen a significant number of these disputes go to courts. And we are saying we are a first point of contact for schemes that have got problems in terms of disputes and so on. And that's why the 3 courts in South Africa have confirmed that in Gauteng, in KZN, and in the Western Cape, they are all agreeing that you can't go to court unless you have been to the CSOS.
We caught up with the Minister of Human Settlements, who emphasized on the need of continued transformation. Minister, what are the key areas that need to be focused on to accelerate transformation?
Look, I think we continue on the same areas. That's why we're giving feedback from last year. Where have you been? Where have we been on the issues that I've raised? We've moved, but I'm not happy at the pace that we are moving. For example, we've agreed that as part of ensuring that we can be able to transform, but ensure that the schemes that are there are transforming, is around incubation. So we still have one company that has come to the forth, despite 3 of them being engaged, that have really started implementing the incubation program that is working. So we hope that many will come through into the forth. We still get reports of estates that are not yet transparent, and therefore we thought that it will be easier with voluntary, transformational targets by schemes themselves in the estates and body corporates being able to proactively say this is what we need to pay attention. So we still have, there are some that have started, but there are some that are resisting. And part of the issue that I was giving feedback is that the board and together with the stakeholders needs to come to say, how are we going to do it? Should we go in terms of review of legislation or review of regulations? Because we thought that as we announced last year at the inaugural, it will take people to be able to consciously understand that we've got to build the South Africa we want.
How is it important to create environments where industry experts and stakeholders can come together and have thought-provoking conversations in order to make sure that we accelerate transformation?
Look, it's not even only about transformation, but how we provide in the service. You'd remember, this is not an entity that existed previously. The rules and regulations that are there, we're comparing with other countries. I've been signing for them to go and look at other countries, how they are doing this work, and what are the things that we can learn. So out of those, then we come together, we bring experts that would come and say, this is what we have studied in other countries, and therefore it's important. But more importantly, we've been expanding our footprint, because previously CSOS was mainly based in Gauteng. So we've opened offices here in Polokwane, we've opened offices in George, we've opened offices, so we're trying to open across the country, all the offices, so that we are more accessible, but there's more participation. So because it's a partnership that we've got to get. If we are to work and succeed as government, we can't do it alone. We need South Africans to work with us, but also give us feedback on the service that we provide. So the closer we have, the Indabas like this are more critical for that feedback so that we can improve. But being held accountable, it's important.
Phindile Mthethwa, CSOS board chair, joins me to shed light into the event and how the organization aims to accelerate transformation in the industry. Mr. Mthethwa, what are the key takeaways of today's event or the event as a whole?
The event as a whole is an event where we want to hear from our stakeholders. We want to understand how they experience the CSOS, the Community Schemes Ombud Services. We want to understand what their problems are, but also to interact with them and see how we can deliver a better service to our stakeholders.
But how can the schemes manage their affairs, such as reducing disputes?
The schemes need to have better relationships. Members of the schemes have to be interactive. They have to participate in meetings. What we find is a problem at times is that members of schemes will complain, yet they do not go to meetings. And when they don't go to meetings, they disempower themselves. So members of schemes have to ensure that they empower themselves by participating in meetings. And when they don't get the required responses, then they can refer their matters to the CSOS.
Lastly, moving forward and obviously looking ahead, how does the organization plan to use data or the information collected here to improve the sector?
The data that we are collecting at the moment helps us to ensure that we transform the industry, helps us to identify the schemes that are not compliant. It helps us also to be able to reach the schemes for training purposes, because one of our mandates is to train people, it is to train schemes to make them understand what their rights are, what their obligations are in terms of living in these sectional titles. So it makes us access them better. So we do encourage members of schemes to update their information from time to time.
As we close off the CSOS second inaugural Indaba, the key takeaways is to accelerate transformation and diversification, building momentum to drive innovation and inclusivity and shape a brighter future for the sector.